Slow start this morning, so we don't have a written portion of the morning call, but we're going to break into a series of charts here. Starting off last night's session, we obviously had U.S. markets, which traded up to the levels we were at before the sell-off on Tuesday, and we basically topped out right around those same sort of levels, only to really make a reversal at the end of the session. A little bit disappointing, but I mean, you couldn't think that we were going to just be able to punch through ahead of today's non-farm payroll number. That's obviously the big data point for the day is non-farm payrolls. A lot of people thinking that it's kind of a make or break number for the Fed. In fact, I've even seen some conspiracy theorists out there saying that they think that the Fed will throw a soft number, they'll throw a fake number out, which will be really soft in order to kind of maintain credibility when they don't hike. So, whether or not that you believe any of that sort of thing, the fact of the matter is that's how big of a number I think it is, and how important the timing is, going into this, that people are even making up, ideas as radical as that. Right. We had a big move yesterday in mining stocks across the board. Really everything just pushing higher. We had a rally in physical commodities there at one point. When the states opened, we really got a big push out of the mining sector, and everything really drove to the highs. We can look at a few different things, but there's a lot going on there. You've got M&A that's kind of happening across the globe at the moment in the sector, and I think that in itself has got to be a bullish undertone to the industry. And I think when we look back in hindsight, that this will broadly mark a bottom in the sector. So when you look at things like AGL Resources, which we saw were bought out, and then I forgot the name of the other one that was bought by, I believe, Halliburton, the other energy company. Both $12 billion plus deals. They're not small deals, but the fact that they're coming out and buying these assets when the industry is really hurting is kind of is telling you that there's a lot of people out there hunting for some cheap assets. So then you also had yesterday Sibanye and Amplats and talks Sibanye to buy to buy the Rustenburg mines potentially off of Anglo Platinum. You've got you had Anglo Gold, which sold a mine for $900 million about a month ago. You've got a few other things that are on the go as well. With the little bit of speculation that capital raise that Impala is doing is going to be to buy out Lonmin. So a lot of talk out there in a lot of different places. But the fact that you're starting to see so much of that potentially, like I said, marking a real bottom here, and in some of these mining stocks, and you saw a wicked rally yesterday. And that's the thing, looking at this chart, now this is Amplats here, you're starting to see more two-way action, or actually looking a little bit inverse head and shoulder-ish here in Amplats, with the potential breakout happening, I'd say, above this sort of level at 356. But you're starting to see a lot more two-way action, so some rips higher, some rips down lower. We can look at something like Anglo's to give us a good example of that, and look at just the last couple weeks. If we look at a 30-day, you can see how much more back and forth it is than it was. I mean, we were really just in a downdraft. I mean, there's some real strong up moves here, combined with some really strong down moves. Yesterday, really kind of popping out a little bit here. I think there's actually a bit of a level here at 150. I'm just going to show quickly. So right there at 150, this is where we closed on the lows there. We tested it down there. When we broke down below, we've basically been holding below 150 this entire time. Yesterday, we got a close above 150 at 150.122, and I think that if we can kind of hold above 150, I don't see any reason why we don't come up and test resistance up here around 175. So that's my call is that potentially we have seen a low in Anglo's, and remember that's going back 10 years earlier and marking an exact double bottom out of Anglo's, going back on a 10-year chart all the way back to 2009 when we bottomed at 133. We're once again bottoming at 133 and starting to turn higher here. So hold above 150 obviously because of many various factors, I think is very bullish. If we look at Naspers, so I want to look here on a 30-minute. You can kind of see the level here on a daily, but we'll look at a 30-minute as well. And you can see here that 1730 is quite a massive level in Naspers. So we really need to get above this level, I think, in order to start to generate any sort of follow through. This thing has been really back and forth. We've kind of been bouncing around 100 Rand or so in this range, very whippy based on sort of overnight moves. And like I said, above 1730, I think we could finally start to get some traction, maybe get a nice push to the upside in Naspers if we get above there. Next one we'll look at is Brait. So we'll look here on a 30-minute. Zoom it forward a touch. This thing, the entire retail sector traded really poorly yesterday, I thought. Our market was squeezing up for the whole second half of the day, basically making new highs every kind of 30 minutes. And this thing, along with most of the retail sector, struggled. So I think the sector was up for the day. I mean, we're up over 2% on the market, but relative to what the index was doing, we kind of opened at those levels and never really pushed higher. And I think that that's probably typical of where we're at the moment, potentially going into a recession here over the next quarter. A lot of uncertainties out there. The Rand is exceptionally volatile, which makes the trading environments even more difficult. Interest rate environment here also very uncertain. You've got 10-year yields pushing 850 at the moment. So I think that the interest rate or the retail sector could really continue to remain under pressure over the near term. A drop of 136 here in Brait would obviously be breaching a major technical level here, and we could potentially come back down and test the lows. I really think that we should. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we get below 136, and you guys know it's going to come lower most likely. All right, Bidvest. I showed this one yesterday, but we got proper confirmation today. You can see here breaking out nicely above the 318 level, and I think this thing tests the all-time highs in the next few sessions. You've got to remember this stock is above. It's one of the few stocks in our entire basket that's above where we were 3 or 4 weeks ago before we saw the major sell-off in the Aussie. It's one of the only ones that I can actually think of that's above there. So that's a very bullish signal. If we get a pullback here today on the open around 320, maybe a great little place to nibble for this thing to come up and test new highs in the next few sessions. And the last one that I'm going to show this morning is Sasol. So Sasol broke above its 200-day yesterday and above a little bit of resistance. There was a little bit of a level that we kind of put in here around the 435 level. And we popped up above that nicely yesterday, and that was lining up nicely as well with the 200-day. I would say that we've got a little bit of resistance here at 450. If you look there, we had a lot of tops around 450. It's not major, but definitely a little resistance. If we see it cross 450, then I think it's a straight shot to 480, which is really the major level that we're going to look at. It's actually, I'll call it 482-ish. And that would be really interesting. If we did get up to 480, I would have to assume that would be a good selling opportunity in the short run, just because it's come from so far. But yeah, let's see. If we get above 450, I think we make a quick move to 480, and then it can get real interesting from there. And that's it for today, guys. Good luck out there.